Dreamcore, glitchcore, webcore, grunge, synthwave, goth, older brothercore, fucking femboys? I said your favorite aesthetic. Jingle jingle. Now you gotta listen. Jingle jingle.
It's okay, look at the shiny.
All things you've likely heard of, watched, experienced, each with subgenres, alternate versions, corresponding music, clothing, decor, themes, all wrapped up in a single word. I want to clarify that I have no issue with these aesthetics. Do what makes you happy, even if it seems a bit gay. I'm talking about you, femboys. Just kidding. But instead, I want to talk about what feels like the sudden explosion around the discussion of aesthetics, what that means for the future of aesthetics as we know it, and what you can do in response to it. Now, discussing why something looks the way it does isn't nothing new. Shit. Art critics have existed since the 1700s. People have gotten really good at conveying and talking about how much they relate to artworks and visuals, on some, yes, that painting of dogs playing poker really does something to me type shit. But critiquing art and general aesthetics weren't something your average Joe could do. Critics and journalists made up a sliver of the people and were in the privilege of spending time staring at a banana taped to a wall, while the brokies below them tended to their farms and scooped up horse shit from the sidewalks. But this elitist class of critics had their reins cut by a little something called the World Wide Web, baby. This, along with the ushering in of dozens of new visual and musical aesthetics, ushered in a sort of choose-your-fighter-esque visual style. It was totally possible to go from grunge and listening to Pearl Jam to becoming invested in punk, to go into more fun nerdcore, and, when you inevitably get heartbroken for the first time, into your cold, Sigma, maximalist grunge lifestyle. Because all women are the same, right, my fellow Redditors? What? Bro, that's so fucking stupid. What I'm trying to say is that during this time, it didn't seem like there was a why behind why you chose to do it. From what it looked like in hindsight, you didn't have to defend yourself constantly from a crowd of gatekeepers berating you with, you don't seem like a true intellectual poo-poo fart-core enjoyer like our shit. And thus, from their inception up to around 2022, the aesthetics landscape was what seemed like bliss. Sure, there was fighting between groups or infighting or aesthetic-specific dramas, but people never really delved deeper into the forms, themes, and symbolisms of them. But then, it wasn't. Likely egged on by the rise of things like liminal spaces, the backrooms, jingle jingle, which was definitely caused by the harsh
political and economic state of the world right now.
That's out of the scope of this video. People became infatuated with specific aesthetics. I can say personally from this time, while not so much in real life, but I've seen so many people gawk and rave about all these nostalgia core aesthetics to make me stand out. Especially in the current year of 2026, I am bombarded with content about this stuff. While I admit it's of my own doing, being I've seeked out that stuff, the sheer volume of stuff people make about it is damn near overbearing. This brings me to my next point I want to discuss. A lot of retrospectives, explanations, and analysis videos of every single theme just seems to muddy already shit around waters. People have done what is unfortunately expected from diehard fans of everything. Dug into the why. This, I've seen especially during my times with aesthetics akin to the dreamy, spooky feelings, like weirdcore, dreamcore, and liminality mostly. I've seen two main camps that surround those aesthetics. One, merely caring about the vibe of the aesthetic, the eerie dread yet faint comfort surrounding the liminal spaces and such. Waiter, more empty pastel rooms from the 2000s for me, thank you. While the other goes all into the ideas around the aesthetic. You'll often see these guys act all purist about the aesthetic like, yes, I'm feeling right back in my childhood. This place is a rouge to usher in blah blah. I don't want to hear it. Now, I don't want to be the fun police and force someone to pick the red or blue pill, but I will say that only caring about one of these sides will likely cause you to repeatedly switch aesthetics, like me switching classes in PvZ Garden Warfare 2. Rock P was goated, by the way, giving an aesthetic a half-life of a CG5 meme music video. Instantly outdated. Next, please. Constantly watching reels about the aesthetic because, oh my god, I need my fill, will cause you to very quickly get bored of it. Just like hyper-analyzing the exact hex-colored code of the wallpaper of a liminal space photo can become boring after a while as well. It seems as though people are merely using the visuals to fit in. I know how overused this word is, but it almost feels like people are LARPing these aesthetics for clicks, especially one as famous as Frutiger Arrow, where there are now controversies around AI usage in the community to push bullshit products to genuine fans. But what does that mean for the future of aesthetics? This is purely speculative, but I have a feeling that if people continue to use these aesthetics instead of actually appreciate them, any new aesthetic that is created will suffer the same fate, which will cause them to fade into obscurity next to Sick Bricks and fucking Kevin G's music. What's interesting about aesthetics before this hypercritical aesthetics era was that most of them had their own feet to stand on. While aesthetics have borrowed and copied one another over time, most were unique enough to be seen as their own thing. That's another fear of mine, that new hyper-niche aesthetics require a person to study for hours before getting into it. While that makes sense for aesthetics like specific college life, jobs, religions, and the like, there's also a chance that if those niche aesthetics become too popular, that popularity muddies the aesthetics entirely, removing what initially made it so enjoyed. People will always want to be in with what's ever popular, but if that inclusion makes it so the initial group of people are seen as the outsiders, then I feel like that's where a lot of gatekeeping and old head behaviors come in. Now, I've been a real negative Nancy over the past few minutes, so why not change it up a bit? What are some things you, yes you, can do to prevent these very cool aesthetics from going the way of the dodo, or the way of the domo if you know ball? Well, going deep into the recesses of my brain, I came up with 3 things that can make you not only stave off the boredom you might get from some aesthetics, but also make them a more impactful part of your life. Firstly, become part of the culture. This feels like a no shit kind of answer, but let me cook. What I see many people do, myself included at times, is enter and exit a community as an outsider, never figuring to try and involve themselves in the community at large. Take an aesthetic like Shibuya Punk. While at first someone could simply watch some videos about Shibuya Punk explained. However, after a while, you'll get bored and move on. Instead, what if you try to go and play some related games, or listen to genres connected with the aesthetic, or maybe read deeper into the history to gain better insight? This stuff can really make you feel more like you're a part of the community than merely looking inward like it's some kind of zoo exhibit. To show some evidence of this working, reading the study's abstract section shows that people who are involved with the community have a higher retention of people staying than less involved communities, using Reddit of all things. Secondly, put more of yourself into the culture. This kind of relates to before, but it's also a bit different. Using Shibuya Punk as our example still, also spending the time to go out of your way to buy trinkets, customize your electronics, wallpaper, and icons, and decorate your living space to match your current style also would aid in aesthetic longevity. As a personal tip, I would recommend not to go overboard with such things, as you could get sick of it over time if it's constantly blasting in your face. Pause. And last, but certainly not least, don't treat the aesthetic as philosophy. What does that mean exactly? Remember those 2 types of aesthetic people I discussed earlier? Be somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, like autism. So much so you can still enjoy the vibe and the deeper message, but in amounts that are satisfying and reveling, not oversaturated and dull. For our Shibuya Punk example, realize that there's some deeper underlying themes with the aesthetic, like its rebellious, childish nature, and basically, fuck the patriarchy mentality and themes, while also simply appreciate the aesthetics for what it is. An aesthetic. And what I should also add, it's a-okay to be part of multiple aesthetic communities. If you were stuck into one aesthetic and forced to confine by its meaty grasp 24/7, you'll still get bored and decide to move on, even after everything I said previously. It's best to give yourself wiggle room and the ability to enjoy other aesthetics. Maybe also give yourself outside aesthetics to enhance what you make for an entirely different aesthetic family. I'm a shining example of this. Just look at all the genres of music I listen to on the regular. So those are my possible ideas surrounding keeping aesthetics alive and what you can do to keep that love for aesthetics true and unwavering. And if my voice this episode reminds you of a certain freaky, geeky light skin, then congrats. You know extreme balls. But those were just my ideas I crafted in the span of a few hours one afternoon. They call me Dewey on the internet, a mere MLG enjoyer in a sea of neon Y2K femboys signing off. What the fuck are these categories on the aesthetic wiki? Bye bye.